The legacy consulting sector is experiencing a real-time structural contraction. The sell side is restructuring in public in real time. In April 2026, KPMG cut approximately 400 consultants from its U.S. advisory practice. This workforce reduction spans the entire consulting class. We are seeing multi-year contractions across the Big Four and the major strategy houses. The cause is direct. AI is rapidly compressing the foundational analyst work that historically fed the bottom of the consulting pyramid. Simultaneously, enterprise AI spending is accelerating toward the tens of billions, yet the return on that capital is almost non-existent. According to MIT's Project NANDA data, 95% of enterprise generative AI pilots produce zero measurable P&L impact. While the technology has moved, the organizational machinery used to purchase it remains anchored in 2018. Most large enterprises are running procurement and legal reviews as if they were still buying traditional software outsourcing. Attempting to buy a probabilistic, continuously learning system using a static, deterministic contract creates a structural barrier. The investment becomes trapped in the pilot phase because the contract itself cannot describe the work being done. Traditional IT procurement relies on three bedrock assumptions. The work is deterministic, the delivery teams are fungible, and pricing is calculated by hourly rates. AI invalidates these assumptions immediately. Integration is a probabilistic, adjusting workflow, not a static application. It requires deep functional knowledge from specific domain experts, making teams non-fungible. Finally, paying for utilization hours is illogical when AI automates the baseline tasks that justified those rates. McKinsey's 2025 data confirms this reality. The highest-performing enterprises succeed by completely redesigning their end-to-end workflows, not by purchasing isolated pilot volume. Continuing to contract for hours and pilot volume under the old framework actively obscures whether the AI is generating any actual enterprise value. This contracting failure creates severe internal friction. The 2026 Writer Survey on Enterprise Adoption tracked exactly how this plays out inside the large enterprise. Over half of executive leaders report that AI adoption is actively tearing their company apart, characterized by intense power struggles between IT and business lines. The structural bottleneck causing this tension sits directly in procurement, legal, and risk departments, which frequently refuse to adapt their contracting methods. The people running these departments are not bad actors. They are doing exactly what they were rewarded to do for the last 15 years, minimizing novel, unfamiliar risk. This leads to the general counsel trap. Legal teams often reject novel, outcome-based contracts, preferring the familiarity of time and materials agreements. The paradox is clear. A familiar time and materials contract guarantees zero financial accountability, while the supposedly risky outcome-based contract is the only instrument that actually protects the enterprise P&L. Until the boardroom intervenes to issue new instructions, the enterprise's own defense mechanisms will remain the single largest block to AI value creation. Fixing this requires a new 3-layer architectural framework for AI procurement, governed by 8 strict questions. The foundational layer is talent and domain expertise. Question 1. Who by exact name will be embedded with us on day 1, and what is their last verified P&L outcome? If a vendor answers this with firm-level capability statements instead of specific operator names, they are selling you headcount, not capability. Question 2. How small is the proposed team, and how many of those individuals have actually run this specific business function? AI value requires small, elite teams of ontology-carrying operators. If the vendor's proposed team scales linearly with the budget size, it is an automatic red flag. The second layer dictates audit and economics. Question 3. What is the locked baseline, and on exactly what calendar day is it locked? Failing to lock a verified baseline early in the engagement allows the vendor to continually negotiate what success looks like after the fact. Question 4. Who certifies the financial outcome, and do they work for either the vendor or the client? Vendor self-attestation, even when packaged in polished dashboards, is theater. Strict, independent third-party certification is non-negotiable. Question 5. What exact share of the vendor's fee is placed at risk if the audited outcome misses the target? This is the capital at risk imperative. The vendor must only be allowed to recover their capital if the independent audit proves actual P&L gains. Question 6. How is the delivery team internally compensated, and is it tied to that exact same audited number? If the consulting firm puts its fee at risk but pays its delivery team based on utilization hours, the daily incentives on the ground directly contradict the contract. True engagement alignment only exists when the vendor firm, the individual delivery team, and your enterprise all depend on the exact same independently certified numbers to win. The final layer is architecture and ownership. Question 7. What telemetry will be wired, who owns the data, and what happens to it when the engagement ends? Allowing a vendor to build your enterprise's unique ontology inside their proprietary platforms creates a permanent dependency. Question 8. When the contract ends, what specific capability remains inside the organization and who, by name, owns it? Without a named internal executive taking ownership on day one, the capability will never transfer. The enterprise will be trapped in ongoing managed services. These final architectural clauses dictate whether the AI's value compounds permanently inside your firm or adds to the vendor's valuation. These rules matter because deploying AI tools in production environments is chaotic and unforgiving. Many fall into the wow demo trap. A pristine pilot succeeds in isolation, but shatters instantly the moment it touches actual, messy, siloed enterprise data. The 8 questions framework provides the necessary structural defense. It tests both the vendor's true architectural rigor and their human talent before the build begins. Ultimately, any future AI engagement comes down to one test. Does the partner across the table win only when the enterprise wins, based on metrics agreed to before the work starts? If the vendor cannot answer these 8 critical questions, they are simply selling the dead consulting model using updated marketing vocabulary. Procurement and legal cannot fix this alone. The responsibility falls directly on the CEO, CFO, and CIO. Executive leadership must explicitly instruct their teams to use these 8 questions as the new non-negotiable diligence baseline starting this quarter. Until the C-suite forces the structural redesign from the top down, the enterprise's own internal governance will continue to systematically filter out real AI value.